The following video contains language that may be inappropriate for young viewers. Viewer discretion is strongly advised. Welcome to Behind the Bars, where we bring the unseen and the unheard stories from the depths of the prison system to the forefront. I'm your host, Jason Boss, and together we'll explore the madness, the chaos, and the harsh realities hidden behind the steel doors of prisons worldwide. From the local jailhouse to death row across the world, we'll show you the isolation, the seclusion, and the decades spent enduring unimaginable conditions. These are the stories of survival, struggle, and humanity in places most of us will never see. We're here to shine a light on what society often forgets, the voices of the incarcerated. Each story is real, each voice is authentic, and every moment reveals the raw, unfiltered truth of life behind the bars. Join me for a journey like no other, a journey into the darkness, the truth, and the resilience of the human spirit. This is Behind the Bars, real life, real stories. Welcome to Behind the Bars. I'm your host, Jason Boss, and today we're stepping into the Wild West, modern-day Tombstone, Arizona, where the legends of outlaws and shootouts are still alive in unexpected ways. This isn't a movie. It's the real-life story of Barry Chappell. Barry is serving a natural life sentence in prison for a shootout straight out of the Old West, fueled by a dangerous cocktail of methamphetamine, drugs, and a delusion. Barry's story is one of a gunfight over a woman, a deadly showdown with Leroy that left Leroy dead and Barry behind bars for life. But Barry's story is more than just a shootout. It's a look into the mind of a man consumed by a lifestyle that led him to make a fateful choice. A choice that changed his life forever. Barry Chappell may have been sentenced to life, but today, he's sharing his story with Behind the Bars, from Tombstone, Arizona to a lifetime in prison. This is his tale of regret, survival, and reflection. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Barry Chappell, and these are his stories.
Ladies and gentlemen, friends and family, thank you so much for being with us. Today I have with me a very, very good friend of mine. His name is Barry Chappel. He comes to us from Arizona, from the Arizona State Penitentiary, and he has been a brother for quite a while now. And we have been talking to him on this podcast about a tremendous amount of things. He is known as kind of the Wild West gunman of Tombstone, Arizona. And if you guys want to hear the story on that, go to the very first podcast. If you guys want to get caught up on the story of Barry Chappell, check out podcast 2 and also the pre-entry to the Occult talk that we are going to have, which was on podcast 3. So you guys are joining us for podcast 4 on Barry Chappell. And Barry, my brother, how are you doing?
I'm doing mighty good, thank you.
Good.
It's good to talk with you, brother.
It is. It is always good to talk with you. It is always good to hear emails from you. And you are coming to us live from Arizona State Penitentiary. How's life in the pen today? How's everything going?
Well, I'm not slammed down, so it's a good day. I've been able to move around the floor, get my little exercise in, so I'm in pretty good shape today.
All right. So today is going to be a special talk because it's something that you're kind of an expert in. It's something that I have done a tremendous amount of research in. So I think this is going to be a very interesting talk that we have right here. And we're going to delve into the world of the occult. And so I wanted to begin by having you take me back to what I heard from your lips was your very first encounter into the occult, which was with a marriage from way back in the day. Was there anything before that, or was this your introduction into essentially the dark arts?
That was my introduction. Up to that period of time, I was in the Mississippi National Guard. So I've had a wife, and I was settled, and I was raising stock cars, so my interest was completely on the other side of the globe from that.
Mm-hmm. Now, you said you met this woman. Let's talk about the introduction into this woman, because she's essentially a witch. Is that what you would say she is or was?
I met her in the late 70s when I moved to Memphis, Tennessee. I got involved in the, drug culture in the nightlife and met her.
Okay, and let's talk about her. You met this woman. Tell me about how you met her. Did she mention she was into the dark arts? How did this even begin? The topic of this, and how did you end up marrying this woman who was obviously a conjurer of black magic?
Well, it actually just started like any other thing. I met her at a club, and just so happened we were both doing hallucinogenics that night, so that was a lot of interesting time, so to speak. But the first night I spent with her, I was like any other, I hate to say it, one-night stands, but I just left the next morning in her apartment. I didn't feel no particular way. But the next night, when I talked to her, it was like I was madly in love with her.
Mm-hmm.
So it's almost like she started using casting spells even right off the bat. Now, as far as I know, she kept it pretty low key because it took I don't say a long time, but several months before she started revealing a little here and a little there. Then when we started actually moving, we moved from Memphis to Charleston, South Carolina. Then I could see all her stuff, and she's got all these books about the occult. So naturally that starts up, and one thing leads to another. And when you're doing, let's say, very hardcore narcotics and hallucinogenics, you get to a place where you want to push the envelope. So that's when the other comes in.
So you were let's reverse real quick, not reverse, but you said hallucinogenics. Are we talking LSD?
Yes.
Okay, and then you also said hardcore drugs. Were you mixing that with what else were you mixing this with?
Doing cocaine intravenously, large doses to where you're almost. Well, I did quit breathing once and had to be cool in the shower, but you're seeing how far you can go without killing yourself.
Okay.
Then you got to go to the other side to come down. You got to have heroin or Dilaudid or morphine or Demerol. So you kind of, I call it, if you mix them, we call it goofing, because you're goofy to do it.
Mm-hmm.
It's the same thing killed Belushi. He was doing cocaine and heroin.
Right. Now,
I didn't like to mix them, but I would do both of them on occasion.
Okay, but so is this woman that you married, is she still alive?
I don't know. I haven't had any contact with her since 1981.
81. Okay. What's her first name?
So I don't. Her first name was Jean. With J.
Jean. Okay. So were both you and Jean mainlining coke during these things?
Oh, everything, pretty much.
So you guys were basically high together through this whole thing?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Well, I had a pretty good job. I traveled around surveying so I could afford that. Plus, she was a bookkeeper, and she was pretty good at embezzling on the places she worked at. Okay.
So you met her, and so 2 or 3 months into this, you guys moved, and you were able to see her assortment of, I guess, occultic stuff. Is that where it is? Can you take me from that time to the very first moment that you participated in something of black magic?
Well, the first thing like I said, we moved to Charleston, South Carolina, but when we moved back to Memphis after that job run out, that's when we got into the arts, because I wasn't working at this time. I was between jobs, and she went back to working as a bookkeeper. And during this period of time, we really got into the dark stuff, because it was my job to get the drugs, so when she came home with the money, we had this all worked out. Then when you start mixing that with, I hate to say it, love and sex and drugs and rock and roll.
Mm-hmm.
It's just kind of a natural thing because you're really trying to see where else you can go without, dying, I guess you could say.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and so you guys were pushing the envelope per se, and so where does the occult come into? Where's your first intro into doing this yourself and dealing in that realm?
Well, my thing was reading tarot cards.
You have 1 minute left.
I would read tarot cards.
Okay.
And I got pretty good at that.
All right, so take me into the tarot cards and take me into how do you even know, or how did you know how to even mess with tarot cards? Did this come about with the same time with Jean, where she was teaching you this, or where did the tarot cards come from?
Yeah, she was teaching me, but it kind of, whenever I met her, I didn't know that she had just come out of a relationship for a while, and when I kind of pulled it out of her, I found out she was actually living with another woman for the previous year, which taught her this. So it was kind of like we were going out on our own, because like I said, she had learned right before she met me. And I got interested in the future, of course. You want to know what's coming. And that's where I was reading the tarot cards for people, just for kicks, And the spells, you dabble in those, not the hex parts, but more of the love spells for people. And money spells, of course.
Okay, so you were teaching. I mean, I guess the concept of the tarot cards is each card represents something or the other, and then when you put them down, you're supposed to be able to read what they tell you. Is that the concept of them?
I laid a 21 card spread down, and when you do that, I always did a double reading. I would read it the second time to make sure they corresponded, so it would, and that way I knew I was, pretty much on, spot on for my reading. But each card, even when you lay the card down, if it's right side up or whatever, it means a different thing.
So
like the hangman,
right? So
different cards.
Do you believe this tarot card reading stuff actually works?
Now, that's where it gets interesting. Now, a lot of people don't believe there's such a thing, but it's like anything. We make things happen by what we say.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm going to be a race car driver, and that's what you're motivated to do, and that's what you become if you really sincere and keep at it. The same thing with anything, even with magic. You pursue it and you believe it, and it comes to pass because you're calling on spiritual entities that you can't see, but they have powers that you don't have no control over. That's where it gets kind of hairy. It's because they have a mind of their own and they lie a lot. I learned that the hard way.
Okay, so have you talked to these spirits before?
Since I've been arrested, no. I have asked the Lord to protect me from them. They did.
Hold on, you said
to kill me. I think.
Hold on, you said you asked who for protection?
The Father.
Okay, Yahuwah. Okay. Okay. Now let's go back to the tarot card readings, because you were reading them. Did you perform some sort of like ceremony prior to doing the tarot cards, or did you just pack out a deck of cards and then start doing this? Was there anything occultic besides laying the cards out in a certain way and attempting to read?
Everyone has their own little ritual. I just like to have a quiet room with just one person I'm reading the card for, and that way you have the full attention of them and they have your full attention. Then like I said, I did a double reading. That way they could see when the cards come down. If they came down similarly, because they make a cut. Just like you would do any of the deck. A tarot deck.
What do you, okay, of course. Hold on. You said they make a crut?
A cut.
What is that? Spell that. Let's see. Are
when you shuffle the cards and you let them cut them and you repack them and then deal them.
Okay, sorry. Okay, yeah. Okay, so they cut the cards. Got it. Sorry. And then you lay them out. Now
you have to touch the cards.
The people have to touch the cards.
Yes. After you deal them, they touch them, then you take them, then you deal them out. They actually touch the cards right before you deal them.
And what does that do? Is just
that puts their energy on it.
Okay.
You're reading that person's energy.
Now, did you ever talk to demons or spirits or anything during this process of reading the tarot cards of this? Did you ever unleash anything? Because you said you don't know how to control them once they're out. Was there any of that during the tarot cards?
To be honest with you, that was so long ago. I don't remember being as intimate as it was when I was in Tombstone, because in Tombstone I was actually investigating them, and I got so comfortable with speaking and hearing them on recorders and photographs and all that stuff. You have a more intimate connection when you're a paranormal investigator, which ain't a ghost hunter. But back in those days, it was more like exploring it more, and you was pushing it with the drugs, and that drugs open doors.
Absolutely.
And that, you put you with the wrong spirits. And
okay,
the last reading I did, it was what I shouldn't have done. It was for myself. I laid a 21 card spread down, and I laid 20 of the 21 exactly like on the second time, which predicted almost to the T the next things that happened to me over the next few decades. It even had weird stuff that I don't want to get into, but the occult is very real.
Okay, so back in the day, the very last time you messed with the cards, you did your very own reading. So you shuffled the cards, and I guess since you were touching them themselves, you ran them out for yourself, and the future looked grim. Is that what you were saying?
I saw a change, but it had like the hanging man, which is can't be bad, but it can't be a change. The death part come up with, it could be someone close to you, not your own death. It just depends how the cards are laid out. And like I haven't read tarot in years and years. Mm-hmm. And when I was ghost hunting, I didn't mess with the tarot cards because that was more socially acceptable. Let's go with that. Mm-hmm. When you're a paranormal investigator, which after you're speaking to the dead, which is necromancy, which is not really good. It's against the scriptures. But you come back into it, I guess, and you lose. I've been ghost hunting for over 6 years before I got into that incident in Tombstone, and I lost pretty much. I've been in graveyards in the middle of the night and stuff moving in rooms, and I lost a lot of respect or fear, which I guess would be a better word. When you do that, you're really sticking your neck out.
Yeah, so, okay.
Hi, everybody. My name is Jason Boss, and I'm the host of Behind the Bars. First, I want to thank you for watching, sharing, and supporting our channel. This project means the world to us because it's about giving a voice to the unheard. The men and women behind the bars who share their raw, unfiltered stories of life, mistakes, redemption, and lessons learned. But here's the reality. Because of the nature of our content, Behind the Bars will never be monetized by YouTube. And that's okay. We're not doing this for the money, but to keep telling you these stories, to keep bringing you interviews from across the plains, we need your help. Right now, we're sitting on over 15 incredible interviews that are waiting to be edited and shared. We've got the footage, but we need the resources. More interviews mean more editors, more work, and a bigger team to make this vision a reality. And that's where you come in. By becoming a Patreon today, you're not just helping bring us these stories to life. You're also getting exclusive access to behind the scenes conversations and untold stories that won't be available on YouTube. These are the moments that take you deeper into the lives of our interviewees, as well as the challenges and triumphs we face while we are creating this channel. If you've ever been moved by one of these stories, if you believe in the power of second chances and in a shining light on the human experience, please consider supporting us. With your help, we can reach further and roll out even more of the content you love. So from the bottom of my heart and from all of us here at Behind the Bars, thank you for being a part of this journey. Much love to you, y'all, and we'll see you in the next episode.
So let's go past this. You're in the tarot cards. You're with Jean. Where does the next step for you guys go? You're beyond the tarot cards. She's teaching you magic. Is that what you did?
Yeah. Well, our marriage didn't last but a year and a half.
Okay.
And it got to a point where I always had the little voice that told me to get up and leave the table, so to speak, or you're going to die. And I left Memphis and left her behind. And when I got to Mississippi, she followed me down there. And, of course, you know how that goes. You think you're going to try it again, but the drugs come back into it. At this time, we weren't into magic. We were just trying to get back together. Well, I could see that it wasn't working out. That's when I did the last reading I did, and that told me to change things. And then I saw that death card, which that scared me. But in hindsight, it wasn't my death I saw, you know.
So
that reading was back in 81.
Right. Okay. And so, what exactly did Jean teach you from her lady friend that she used to shack with? What did she teach you? How did you learn this? What exactly is the occult for those who do not know?
Oh, boy. I don't want to say too much because people are curious. The occult is whatever you make of it. And if you really go deep into researching it, you find all these different spells and you speak them out loud, and there's a lot of certain procedures which sometimes it involves blood, and it depends on how far down that rabbit hole I guess you want to go. But that part was freaking me out too. Is one reason I left Memphis.
Why?
And because when you think you're going to die from doing something, you know, if you don't get it and leave, you kind of get what you deserve in a way, I guess. But I was getting to a point where it wasn't good for my health or my mental state. So I tried to break that out, and I did break it out, but of course she comes down there, and when I did that reading for myself, and that's when I said, no, this is it. And she went back to Memphis, and then I went to Texas not long afterwards.
All right, so what did she teach you from whatever time she was with you? Did you said that you guys did like love spells, things of this nature. Is this the stuff you learned from her?
Well, there's some of the books. You have different little things you do that, like you want money, you want success, you want notoriety or whatever. You have different spells, which I said that's been a long time ago, so I don't remember the procedures. I wouldn't.
Let's not actually say the words, but
yeah.
Now, were these words like Latin or English or what kind of
No,
word?
they're English.
They're English.
Some of them, but they're. What I remember is it's the ritual in your belief, and when you have that certain belief, it opens the doors. You know what? You understand what that is?
Well, yeah.
When you open that door, it allows you to draw on that entity's power, but it's always a cost.
Yeah, so I want to fill some stuff in as well, because what one of the greatest, I guess, Freemasons of all time, Aleister Crowley, has often said is that, you know, and what the actual, when you are a Freemason, the process is all 100% occultic, because the bottom levels, the first 3 levels of Freemasonry are really what they call the dummy levels. Like, there's a lot of people that never graduate out of 1, 2, or 3, but those who jump into the further levels of Freemasonry up into the 33rd degree know how to conjure demons and know how to work the occult. And a lot of it, they say it's thinking things into fruition, and that's why they put their signs and they put their symbols. That's why at the back of a $1 bill you will see the all-seeing eye of Satan, and that is part of the entire occult. And most people don't realize this. And so the word occult actually means hidden. And so hidden knowledge. And that is what, if you know, the Freemasons of all have said, if the world could ever figure out the signs and symbols of the occult, then their eyes would be open. And that is very, very true, because we end up now with all these things on the television programming where it's more of spell casting things into reality. Things into reality as they code numbers on all of this stuff.
I just don't want to tell something that somebody's going to try to do.
Yeah, no, I know. Definitely don't.
If they want to go out there and find the literature, it's out there.
Oh, it is. It's absolutely out there. And, you know, that's one of the things, the Books of Solomon, the one we're trying to translate right now and get back, you know, it has all these demon names, and some of these demons are saying, like, words and sentences and stuff, and I'm, like, freaking out, because it's like I almost feel like blanking the words out or something, or changing them up just so they're not the...
There's certain demons you can't say their names without calling them, so you got to be really... knowledgeable before you open that door.
Yeah, and that's the thing about Solomon, man. He was controlling the jinn. All right, we are back. Okay, are you ready?
Well, I want to talk about Aleister Crowley in just a second.
Okay, let's do it.
Wickedest man alive is what he claimed.
Yep.
Okay. Do you know you've heard of L. Ron Hubbard?
Yep, absolutely.
Okay. I can't think of the guy's name that started Jet Propulsion Laboratory.
Okay.
You know what I'm talking about?
I don't know who it is.
Well, L. Ron Hubbard he was writing science fiction, and he knew Crowley, but him and this guy actually got a spell from him to open a doorway back in the late 40s. Mm-hmm. Or early, I think it was late 40s. I don't think it didn't teach yet. But he told them not to do this, because Crowley was calling on the entity that what people would call a gray alien, which I call them demons. Mm-hmm. This is when, early back in the space program, so Jet Propulsion Laboratories were right up there in the thing. Well, when they did this spell, there was all kind of weird stuff happening. The people around them was freaking out. It was some bad news. And this is when the UFO craze really hit.
The U.S. what? The U.S. what craze?
The UFO craze back in the late 40s.
You say O craze.
The UFO. Flying
UFO, right, okay, gotcha, right, okay. Right, because a little more details on this, when they went out and did this experiment, they were out in the middle of the desert trying to open up a portal, is that correct?
Yeah. I think it was in a house when they did it originally. They may have went to the desert later.
Okay, yeah, because
Crowley did not want to open this. He warned them. Mm-hmm. But, you know, look at what happened at that Propulsion Laboratory. It took off. And the Church of Scientology he started. So people understand that all things that we take now as standard operating procedure had the beginning in the occult. Look at Operation Paperclip when they brought all the Nazis over.
Yeah.
Our space program.
Yep.
There's so many things that we take as, you know, good old U.S. of A. that's really dark stuff.
Yeah, the guy's name was Jack Parsons. I'm looking this up right now. And
there you go.
It's the occult history behind NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory.
Yeah.
And it says Chaos Magic, Aleister Crowley, Rocket Science. Jack Parsons was one of the most influential figures in the history of American space program. He was also a Marxist, stood accused of espionage, and held a deep fascination with the occult. His interest in the supernatural went far beyond vaudeville, magicians, and astrology. By 1939, Parsons and his wife, Helen Parsons Smith, had fully embraced the teachings of the Ordo Templis Orientis, a central hub for Aleister Crowley's spiritual and religious philosophy. Okay, so yeah, that's the guy, Jack Parsons.
Yeah.
And there's a tremendous amount of stuff. You've heard of CERN before?
Yeah.
CERN, so
the collider.
Yeah, the huge hadron collider that they are smashing particles at the speed of light and beyond, and even they say they're opening up doors. And some of the scientists that have seen this stuff over at CERN have talked about the things that come out of this. And it seems like every time the CERN is rolling, earthquakes are rocking these planes, and it's literally, what one of the things is that CERN is actually over one of the temples of Baal, one of the old occult temples. And so this is right in the middle of this. And I think it goes with like 3 different countries at this giant, like a 20-some mile hadron collider ring. And,
27 miles.
Yeah, that's what it is. It is a massive, massive thing. And what's come out of there over the years is they will release videos that look extremely occultic, that people are dancing in very weird ways, things that you would not ever see anywhere else. That's the stuff that comes out of CERN. And it is a complete opening of the portals. When you look at the book of Revelation 9/11, it talks about the Antichrist coming out of the portal, and it identifies who the Antichrist is, because it says it's essentially Baal. It's the spirit of Baal that comes out of these things. And so it's always been curious to me that all these occult people right in front of everybody are spinning these things at mass amounts of power, and people cheer them on like, yay, open the portals to hell, as we bring in demons to keep us attacked. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, personally, I don't believe they're extraterrestrial. They're interdimensional.
Mm-hmm.
These beings, and they're very, very real. I've spoken to them. I thought they were ghosts. I thought they were the spirits of dead people, but over the course of time and experience, I've learned the hard way. They're actually demonic entities. And their whole mission is to destroy you. They'll be your best friend the whole time you do it. But there's so many things, even the evil eye, Mm-hmm. You've heard of the evil eye, of course.
Mm-hmm.
Right? There's so many things that the celebrities do, the little evil eye they give on their videos. And
yep.
We're such a pagan culture in the United States. People think this is a Christian nation. They're fooling themselves.
Yep, and so what Barry's talking about is there's 2 different things that celebrities do. One is they cover their right eye or left eye, or they darken one of their eyes. And this is a call out to scriptures that talks about one of their leaders, the blind shepherd, that whoever comes in the future has a blind eye. And so they've always been shouting out their goat god Baphomet and their demon friends and all of these entities that they're doing. And you will find hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of celebrities that are covering their one eye as they shout out their demon lord Satan. And, when you look at the music and you hear things like Bob Dylan did an interview years and years ago with Ed Bradley. And inside this interview, he says he made a deal with the master commander that he had to do a certain amount of things.
Yep.
Every single one of these celebrities. Tupac Shakur said he made a deal with the devil and the price was not cheap. Jay-Z, Eminem, all of these guys that have made it on the world stage have literally said they've sold their soul, written a contract in blood, and at some point, you can see the people like right now, you see the guy in the news, P. Diddy. That guy is one of the greatest demonic Satanists of our times, and this guy has done so much evil and so much stuff, but it looks to me like their deals are done. Like Satan at one point, and the demons decided that, hey, this guy is no longer influencing the people like we want them and leading them astray. Let's get rid of them, and they throw them out there, and their deals are done. Any thoughts on that?
Well, the thing that really worries me is how they made it almost socially acceptable to be a paranormal investigator. It's socially acceptable to listen to these songs that's calling upon these entities by name, some of them. They don't understand when music goes into, it's a vibration, it sets a tune into you where you're a receiver to this information. It's just like with a spell. When you cast your spell, you're opening up that frequency. Whatever words you're using tunes you into that frequency so they can speak directly to you. And you're really in a world of hurt when you start that world up. When they made it so outlandish in some of the movie, well, that's just Hollywood. Well, they're actually numbing you down to where you don't believe it. Then they can subtly put this, I don't know, this songs and TV and movies to where you don't even realize when it's happening.
Yep.
It's like they outlawed years ago when they would show popcorn pop on the screen at the movie and you want to go eat and get some popcorn. This is just that 100-fold.
Yeah, and so
I've learned that the best way to get into that world is never open the door, because you go through that door and it's hard to get out again. It's going to cost.
So as a former, I guess, occultist or somebody who's been into black arts, I want to touch it. Well, let's go back to the very first time that you had an interaction with somebody you thought was a dead person that was what you later found out was a demon. What was your very first encounter with that? How did that happen? Where did that go down at?
My father had cancer and he died a pretty bad death, which I had a lot of guilt about. So I was seeking a medium to contact him. Well, when you start seeking that, the doors start opening. My wife got a reading. We tried to see a famous psychic around the turn of the millennium named John Edwards. I think it's out of New York. Well, we finally got a reading with him to where he basically said that he actually told stuff that no one could have known that he was drawing on some kind of powers. Mm-hmm. But it opened that door to when I started paranormal investigating, and the very first voice I had a conversation with was a child. That was a little boy named Pete. Mm-hmm. Well, they come at you with innocence first, like, this is a child spirit. They need help. So you drop your guard down. Mm-hmm. That happened to me, I would say, probably around 2007 and 2008. That's when I got back into the occult after dropping it in the early 80s. I was busy doing other stuff for a long time, but when you start cracking that door open, you wind up walking all the way in and you get more than you bargained for.
Okay, and how did
that happen? I got a bug.
Okay, and so how did you get a hold of Pete? How did that? What were you doing? Were you what did you do to make that go down?
I had what they call a spirit box. It runs through AM and FM radio frequencies. It's like a scanner. It runs right through the frequencies of through the air. It's just. And the voices can come through and you can have a one-on-one conversation. Of course, you got a digital recorder to record it so you can play back, because sometimes the voices are really fast and sometimes they're really slow.
Okay, so sometimes you said it was sometimes really fast and sometimes really slow. Is that what you said?
Yeah, so like you could say, "What is your name?" and they can just go, and you couldn't understand it until you put it back, the recording, to a computer, and the computer can slow it down, and you can see the wavelengths of the frequency, and you can speed it up or slow it down where you can understand what they're saying. In Tombstone, I even had one entity tell me it was Wyatt Earp, but he said it so quickly. I have another one tell me his name was Philip the Sorcerer. Both those times I didn't understand it until I run it back to the computer and it slowed down.
So
now, I have tell me their names and I understood it, but that was just two. They said it really fast.
Okay, and so when you met Pete through this, Pete the demon or Pete the unclean spirit or whatever Pete was, what did you say to him? What was the conversation? How did he come at you? How did that meeting go? How did it end with you guys?
Oh, it was just a very short brief. That was in Mississippi in the old house, and my wife was even with it. We were sitting in the bedroom of the old house late one night, and just he would whistle.
You have 1 minute left.
He would whistle for me and tell me little short things. I don't remember. I've had so many conversations with him, I lose touch of who said what.
Wow. All right.
Well, you don't want to go down that door.
Yeah.
That ain't no good place.
Definitely. All right, Barry, I think we're going to wrap this particular podcast up. These are some really good things. I guess if you could leave something with the people, you got about 10 seconds. What would you like to tell them?
Well, I guess if you want to read something to get you to the good spirit world, that's the scriptures.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you, Barry, very much, brother.
Good. Yep. You're welcome.
All right. Okay, I think that's good for this round, man. When they hang up, I think we're good. So
just whenever you get ready to do another one, I got plenty of phone time.
Okay, all right, brother, man. Well, much love to you, man.
Thank you for using Genetics.